Hello everyone. Today we shall be discussing in detail the very important issue, and that is Israel, Iran and USA conflict. So we won't be going in very detail of every aspect because it's not needed for UPSC. But yes, we will be covering each and every aspect superficially so that you will have an idea that what was the background, what is happening recently, and what will be its implications. So, first of all, before discussing the topic, let's discuss the points in brief. What all points we will be discussing. So, we will be starting with the background, that is the year 1979, which was the turning point between Israel and Iran. After that, we would be discussing the proxy war era, the nuclear issue, the JCPOA nuclear deal, which was between P5+1 countries and Iran. After that, US withdrawal, the direct confrontations, and finally, we would be discussing the implications of what all is happening. And please focus on what all we are discussing, because at last I will be discussing two very important prelims based questions from this topic. So let's start our discussion. And our discussion starts with the year 1979, which proved to be a turning point between the Israel and Iran, the relations between two countries. So what happened in before 1979? Iran was ruled by the Pahlavi dynasty. Pahlavi dynasty. Now the king of Pahlavi dynasty, which people call as Shah of Iran, so he was very liberal in approach. He was very liberal in approach, and he tried to modernize and westernize the various aspects of Iran, the people of Iran. So he called it as the White Revolution in Iran, because he tried to introduce various type of reforms in Iran, various type of reforms like giving rights to women, developing the infrastructure of health, education, all these things. So hence he called it as White Revolution. But because of all these things, there was resistance from the people of Iran, because according to them, all his approach was trying to suppress the or was resisting the traditional values of Iran. And hence people do not want to westernize themselves or westernize their culture. Hence there was a resistance from the country itself, from the people of Iran. And hence there was the rise of Iranian people under Iranian movement. So why Iranian movement, or what was the cause of Iranian revolution or beginning of Iranian revolution? Because of the White Revolution under the Pahlavi dynasty, he tried to modernize the people of Iran, westernize the people of Iran, and hence there was resistance that it is challenging the traditional values of Iran. And one more important thing was that the regime was becoming more and more authoritarian. That's why there was resistance from people of Iran. And hence there came the Iranian Revolution, which happened in 1979. So now what was the result of Iranian Revolution? The result was the Shah regime or the monarchy was replaced. Monarchy was replaced by the Islamic Republic. Okay. So monarchy was replaced by Islamic Republic, and that Islamic Republic was now ruled by the religious leaders. So this was the overall background. So now what happened? Since now monarchy is replaced by the religious leaders under the Islamic Republic, so from that moment, see, earlier there was friendship between Iran and Israel, right? Now from that movement, Iran became anti-US. Earlier there was no issue, but now Iran became anti-US because Iran became anti-Israel. And now Iran also stopped recognizing Israel, because now Iran is openly supporting the Palestine issue. So now everything got messed up. And from here only the true rivalry started. Now, coming the 1980s to 2000 era, the proxy war era. So proxy war era means Iran and Israel were not fighting directly. Instead, what Iran was doing, Iran was supporting the groups which were opposing Israel. So what were those groups? For example, the Houthis rebel in Yemen. They were supported by Iran. Okay. And other thing, Hamas in the Palestine territories. The Hezbollah in Lebanon. And other militias in Iraq and Syria. So because of all these groups, because of all this network, Iran has created the axis of resistance. So what was that? The axis of resistance. What was that axis? The network of all these rebel groups which were supported by Iran. So it was called axis of resistance. Now since Iran is supporting all these networks to attack on Israel, as a result, Israel will also respond. So what Israel did? Israel did some of the airstrikes in Iran. After that, Israel also did some of the cyber attacks. Like for example, the Stuxnet cyber attack, it was done because of this intention only. And also it involved some of the assassinations of the Iranian scientists. So since Iran attacked, as a result, Israel also responded. And for decades, this was a shadow war. But it was indirect, but it was continuous war. Though it was indirect, but it was a continuous war. Now comes the next issue, which is very important issue, and that is the nuclear issue. That is the enrichment issue. Enrichment of uranium issue. So see, according to Iran, the nuclear power of Iran is just for the peaceful purpose. Peaceful purpose, that means for electricity generation, for health, all these things. This is peaceful generation. But since the enrichment of uranium in Iran was increasing, so because of that, many countries have imposed sanctions, economic sanctions on Iran. And because of that, economy of Iran was crippled. What was the reason for economic sanctions? Because the enrichment of uranium in Iran was increasing. Now let's discuss this enrichment in brief because it will help you in prelims also. So see, enrichment of uranium can be done for two things. First, it can be done for the peaceful purposes, that is we discussed about related to energy or health. Or second, it can be enriched to create the nuclear weapons. So if we are using it for the peaceful purposes, enrichment is needed for around 3 to 5%. But if you are enriching uranium to about 90%, it can be used to create the nuclear weapons. This is the main issue. And why the issue was created? Because the enrichment in Iran was increasing above this limit, 3 to 5%. That's why various countries have imposed the economic sanctions on Iran. Now, coming to next important landmark, and that was 2015 JCPOA nuclear deal. So what was that? Under this nuclear deal was signed by P5+1 countries. So P5 means the 5 permanent members of United Nations Security Council plus 1, that was Germany. So all these countries have signed a nuclear deal with Iran. And what was the reason for that? Because these countries were fearing that Iran might create a nuclear weapon. So let's create an agreement with Iran so that economic sanctions can be lifted from Iran and we can also live peacefully and safely. So with P5+1 countries, Iran signed a nuclear deal. And now, what were the main points of that nuclear deal? Main points were that the enrichment of uranium in Iran have to be limited to 3.67%. So as we discussed, if we need enrichment for peaceful purposes, then 3 to 5% was the range. That means Iran has to limit its enrichment within the limit which is needed for peaceful purposes. Secondly, to keep uranium stockpile low. That means above a certain limit, Iran cannot stockpile the amount of uranium. And third thing was that the international inspectors will be keep visiting the enrichment site of Iran so that everything will be transparent. So these were the important agreements under the JCPOA agreement of 2015. But here comes the twist. When US President Donald Trump comes to power, So here comes the twist, that is US withdrawal from JCPOA, which happened in 2018, and it even continued when Joe Biden also became the president. So what happened in 2018? The President Donald Trump withdrew from the deal. What was the reason for that? He thought that the deal was too weak. Means because of this deal, Iran will not stop its nuclear missile program, and this treaty is very weak. Hence, US withdrew from JCPOA agreement. But since US withdrew from the agreement, that means US reimposed the economic sanctions, right? Because what was the agreement? That you will stop the enrichment, or you will limit the enrichment of uranium, and we will lift the economic sanctions. So it happened from 2015 till 18. But in 2018, US withdrew from the agreement, and hence US reimposed the economic sanctions on Iran. Now, Iran will respond, obviously. So what Iran did? Iran increased its nuclear enrichment. And increased to what level? Iran increased its nuclear enrichment to about 60%. See, 60%, with 60% you cannot create a nuclear weapon, but it is very close to creating a nuclear weapon, right? Because 3 to 5% is just for the peaceful purposes. 60% is way ahead, from the peaceful purpose limit. So, 60% is very close to 90%. That means, Iran is very near to creating a nuclear weapon, and hence it can be very dangerous. As a result, what happened? Israel began to panic, because it is nearby country only. So Israel began to panic that since Iran is enriching its nuclear facility, and hence anytime Iran can attack on us. Now, till now there were indirect confrontations or proxy wars between Israel and Iran. Now comes the time of direct confrontation. That is from 2023 to 24. So what happened in 2023, October 2023, Hamas attacked on Israel. And who are Hamas? Hamas are supported by Iran. So Hamas, which are supported by Iran, they attacked on Israel, and as a result, Israel responded strongly. And apart from Hamas, other groups like Hezbollah and other groups also became active. And in 2024, for the first time in history, Iran and Israel attacked directly on each other with missiles. So this time the attack was direct. Direct missile attacks were happening between both the countries. Now, after 2024 comes very important thing, that was the 12-day war. So what happened was, in June 2025, the IAEA, that means the International Atomic Energy Agency, declared that Iran was non-compliant with the agreement of 2015, the JCPOA agreement. So since IAEA declared that, Israel believed that since Iran is increasing its nuclear enrichment, at any time it can do a nuclear attack. So in this fear only, what Israel did? Israel launched Operation Rising Lion. So who launched this operation? Israel. Why it launched? Because it was fearing that since Iran is increasing its nuclear enrichment, it can attack on us anytime. So what happened in Operation Rising Lion? Israel attacked various facilities. Important was the Natanz nuclear facility in Iran, other missile facilities. Also, the nuclear scientists were attacked by the Israel under Operation Lion. And this led to a 12-day war. This was the thing. This led to a 12-day war from 13 to 24 June 2025. Here, important thing is, US supported Israel, but US did not officially lead the war. So this was the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. Now comes the very important issue, that is the recent death of Iran's supreme leader. This is the very important thing. So see, even after the 12-day war, the tensions did not stop. And on February 28, 2026, US and Israeli forces launched coordinated strikes against Iran, and Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who ruled since 1989, was killed in the operation. Now, important thing here is, why was he targeted? Because he was the ultimate authority. He was the ultimate authority over Iran's military and nuclear policy, and hence, according to US and Israel, removing him would weaken the Israel's strategic direction. Now, but there will be implications for this also. Well, implications will be for everything. So, important implication for this is Iran is controlling the northern coast of Strait of Hormuz. Please see in the map. This is the Strait of Hormuz and this is Iran. So, Iran is controlling the northern side of Strait of Hormuz. And from this strait, around 20% of global oil passes. So, this is the main issue. This strait handles a large portion of global oil trade. And if Iran blocks it, what will happen? If Iran is blocking it, obviously oil price will rise. And if oil price is rising, obviously inflation will rise. And if inflation will rise, economies will slow down. And specifically, if we talk about India, India is 80% dependent on the imported fossil fuels only. So the same thing will happen in India. Oil prices will rise, inflation will rise, and it will lead to crippling of economy. So this is the main important implication for this. Now coming to bigger strategic questions. So what are these bigger strategic questions? First important question is, can a country attack another country to prevent future nuclear capability? Okay, so question is, can a country attack another country to prevent future nuclear capability? That means, is it ethically valid, morally valid to do this? So see, if we talk about Israel, so what is the Israel perspective? That since Iran is moving towards nuclear weapon capability, and so hence Iran can anytime attack on Israel. But the debate here is, according to international law, any country can attack on another country only if that country has attacked on us. So with the apprehension, you cannot attack on any other country, because in this way any powerful country can justify attacking the weaker one, right? So this is the global debate, that it's not ethically, morally just, that just on the basis of apprehension you are attacking on another country, because since it is developing nuclear weapons. So this is first important question. Second important question is, does nuclear deterrence apply equally to all? See, this is very sensitive issue, because everyone knows that Israel is known to possess nuclear weapons. Second country which we are talking about is USA. USA has thousands of nuclear weapons. Also other countries like Russia, China, India, all these countries have nuclear weapons. But why only Iran is being prevented from reaching the nuclear threshold capability? So this is the very important question here. So the main issue is, if nuclear weapons are dangerous, why do some countries have them permanently and we are resisting Iran, and we are stopping Iran from doing that? So this is the second important issue. Third issue is, can regime change bring stability? Because since why US and Israel did that? Because they want a regime change. So do we have examples in the history that if with the bombings and all, if you are changing the regime, so can it bring the stability? So see, if the current regime is aggressive and destabilizing, removing it might create a moderate government, but it's not valid every time. So let's look at the example. If we talk about Iraq in 2003, so what happened in Iraq? Saddam Hussein was removed. But what was the result? Violence improved. The violence re-emerged. The violence increased and ISIS emerged. So does it did it bring stability? No. If we talk about Afghanistan. So in Afghanistan, what happened? US removed the Taliban. After 20 years, Taliban returned back. So no improvement. So these are some of the examples that you cannot surely say that even if you are trying to change the regime, it will bring stability. Okay, so these three are the very important questions which you have to think upon, because these type of questions will help you to will help you to answer the analytical type of questions in your mains. So you have to think upon. It's not like you just read the newspaper, you read the news and that's it. You have to think upon that. that what will be the geopolitical implications, what will be the economic implications, whether it is morally justified, whether it is ethically justified. It will help you in your ethics paper also when we discuss about the international ethics. So these were the important debatable questions. Now, as I discussed that we will be discussing two very important prelims questions. So let's discuss those questions. So first question is, with reference to uranium enrichment, consider the following statements. First statement says, natural uranium contains less than 1% of the isotope, that is uranium-235. Second question is, uranium enriched to 90% purity is considered suitable for power generation. Third statement is, uranium enriched to around 3 to 5% purity is generally used in civilian nuclear reactors. So now you have to give me the answer in the comment section that what will be the answer for this question. Now, another important question. Another important question is related to Strait of Hormuz. So first statement is, it connects the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman. This is the first statement. Second is, about 80% of all oil supplies passes through this strait. So now you have to provide me answer in the comment section. Whether only one is correct, two is correct, both are correct, or neither one nor two. Okay. So I think we have covered all the important aspects superficially, which are needed to answer questions in UPSC. So I think you can see the video once again. You can see the explanation once again. You can go through the map of the Strait of Hormuz. You can go through the nuclear enrichment process, which we discussed, what percentages are needed for what purposes. And yes, you will be done with this topic. So that's all for this discussion. Thank you.